This video is sponsored by Oracle. More on them later. For some time I've been considering giving my PC a slight upgrade. Not that it was bad as it was. I had a Ryzen 2700, 16 gigs of RAM and an RX 6800 XT, but mainly because older components like my CPU, for example, were in need of a refresh. The CPU itself was holding my GPU back in some games, and while editing videos like this one, I felt the need for having more RAM. Considering how cheap DDR4 RAM and the Ryzen 5000 series has gotten, it was time to give my N4 platform just one last upgrade. I'm hoping this video will give you some perspective if you have an older AM4 system yourself and you're considering a similar upgrade path. Jumping straight into it, for the CPU I bought the Ryzen 7 5700X. This is a considerable bump in performance from the 2700, as you'll see in some games. I considered going for the 5800X 3D, but the performance difference between that and the 5700X in 1440p ultra-wide didn't really justify the price premium for me. I would have ended up paying about twice as much for the 5800X 3D versus the 5700X. And I was not going to gain twice as many frame rates on the 5800X 3D versus the 5700X. So for me, it was a no-brainer. For the RAM, I grabbed a 32GB kit at 3600 MHz and CO16. I decided against going for a matching 16GB kit since I've heard some not so great stories about compatibility issues with kits that were bought years apart. And since I built my PC about 3 years ago, and considering the minimal price difference between 16 gigs and 32 gigs DDR4, I played it safe. I also took the chance to upgrade my storage, as one can really never have too much storage. There's no such thing as too much storage. I was using a 1TB SATA SSD for my boot drive, and since I had an NVMe die some time ago, I decided to replace that and grabbed a 2TB Crucial P5 Plus for my Windows boot drive. And now my 1TB SATA SSD is used as my scratch disk for current video projects I'm working on. I also have another 2TB SATA SSD from Crucial, which I use to store my games. One thing I didn't have before was a reliable backup solution for my finished projects. A simple hard drive inside my PC was just not going to cut it. And that's where today's video sponsor Oracle comes in. They kindly sent me one of their 2-bay hard drive enclosures for me to check out, and I have to say it's pretty neat. You can populate it with either two 3.5-inch or 2.5-inch drives and connect it through USB to your PC. It has its own separate power adapter and a hardware RAID controller, which you can set to either RAID 0 or RAID 1. And you can also set this up using their software if you prefer. I used two 4TB Seagate NAS drives and set them to RAID 1 so that the drives are essentially mirrored, so that way if one fails, my data is safe on the other. I also have a cloud backup solution for that extra security layer. Oracle has a wide array of other enclosures, NAS storage systems, USB docks, and much more. Click the link in the description if you'd like to learn more, and thanks again to Oracle for sponsoring today's video. After setting everything up, I reinstalled a fresh copy of Windows and started testing my new hardware. The performance difference is incredible, to say the least. I saw considerable gains in average frame rates and 1% lows, and overall more stable frame times, which help having a smoother gaming experience. I'm going to show you before and after numbers in some of the games I've tested, just so you can have an idea of my experience. Starting with Modern Warfare 2 with the balanced graphics preset, before the upgrade I was getting about 106 FPS on average and 1% lows between the 70s and 80s. After the upgrade, my average frame rate went up to about 150 FPS with 1% lows hovering than 110 FPS. In Control, with the graphics set to high, I saw almost no difference since I'm mostly GPU bound in this game, so you'll see pretty similar numbers between my previous CPU and this one. Resident Evil 4 saw a considerable boost in average FPS with the prioritized graphics preset, going from 70 FPS in the opening section on average to around 105 FPS and up to 120 and 130 in non-open areas. Cyberpunk 2077 had a ridiculous bump, which I really didn't expect in this game, going from about 70 FPS on average and 1% lows of 60 FPS to 124 FPS on average and 1% lows of 100 FPS. This was using the high preset with FSR turned off. Overall, I saw about a 54% boost in my average frame rates on these games and roughly similar numbers in 1% lows. And remember, these numbers are for 1440p ultra-wide. If you're gaming in 1440p 16:9 or 1080p, you can expect an even bigger difference. And that's about it. I'm super happy with how this turned out. I've spent about $300 in total to do this upgrade, and to me that was totally worth it. If I managed to sell my older CPU and RAM, that upgrade cost would be even less. Let me know in the comments if you've done a similar upgrade and what was your experience. Don't forget to hit the like button if you like this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.